The meeting is now called to order. Will the secretary please call the roll?
Mrs. Becker, Mr. Cancro.
Here.
Mrs. Chu.
Here.
Mr. Hong.
Here.
Mrs. Lax.
Here.
Mrs. Reese.
Here.
Mr. Seeler.
Here.
Mrs. Shaw.
Here.
President Simmons.
Here, we have a quorum. Please rise to salute the flag. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend the meetings of public bodies at which any business affecting their interest is discussed and acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of this Act, the East Brunswick Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published by having the date, time, and place thereof posted at the board offices located at 760 Route 18, East Brunswick, New Jersey. Written notice was also provided to the Sentinel, the Newark Star Ledger, the Home News and Tribune, and the Municipal Clerk of East Brunswick. All Board of Education meetings, with the exception of executive session discussions, are videotaped for later broadcast. It is the policy of the Board of Education that videotape meetings are not edited for any purpose. Individuals who speak at the Board's public meetings should be aware of these videotaping rules. And good evening, everyone. We're going to begin with the good of the cause for the public. Any members of the public wish to speak this evening? Good evening. Please state your name for the record.
Good evening, everyone. Dana Zimbicki, President of the Education Association. President Simmons, I'm going to ask that, I know my comments are going to go over 5 minutes, so I'd like to ask for extended time. If not, I will stop where I am and my colleagues will come in.
It is the summer. We have a quiet house. You've got the floor.
Thank you. I appreciate that. All right, so good evening. In the 3 years that I've been president of this association, I can count on one hand the number of times that I've actually stood here to speak in front of the board. One time it dealt with the IT reorganization, and every other time it dealt with pride activities, collaborative activities, all positive things. Tonight, I stand before you because of my deep concerns for the grounds department. The department has been reduced by 1/3 over the past few years and is operating with substandard equipment. Over the course of the past several months, comments have been made by their direct superior to members of the grounds department that the district has put out RFPs for grass cutting and snow removal. This has created a culture of distrust and fear within this department. Being repeatedly told that RFPs have been placed and outsourcing will be occurring as of August 1st and through the month of October is not a culture that anyone would like to be part of. Our gentlemen are being told by management that the board will make decisions and then inform the association. I don't want to believe that. I don't feel that that truly represents the sentiments of this board. In fact, when we had to make hard decisions about the child nutrition department back in 2010, you, the board members, clearly stated you were not interested in privatization. Again, approximately a year ago, when an RFP for grass cutting and snow removal was published without the association's knowledge, I was assured by Board President Simmons that privatization was not something this board was interested in. I would like to take some time to explain the obstacles that these fine group of men have been facing for quite some time. The first obstacle is manpower. Manpower has been an ongoing issue. The grounds department has been staffed with 9 full-time members for many years on a consistent basis. In the 2014-15 year, the grounds department began to experience the first of many inconsistencies with manpower. Out of those 9, 4 groundsmen were working for the entire 12-month period. 1 worked for 11 months, 1 for 10 months, 1 for 6 months, 1 for 5 months, and 1 for 2 months. As people were renewed or retired, the hiring process was slow. There continued to be inconsistencies with the steady 12-month employment, and in fact, during the 2016-17 fall grass cutting season, only 6 groundsmen were employed. During that time, the district was concerned about the vast amount of work that needed to be accomplished and asked for the association to consider a memorandum of agreement that would allow the district to hire groundsmen on a Tuesday to Saturday basis. This memorandum of agreement was signed in November of 2016, which resulted in the hiring of 2 additional gentlemen for the spring season that we just came out of. However, as of July 1st, this department was reduced once again by 2, and now we're back to 6. The district is asking the men to do more for less. Take a second to imagine how this would impact you in your personal places of employment. If the staff was reduced, yet you were still expected to complete the same amount of work, how would that impact you? In fact, the workload of our men has increased because now we have an additional building with the inclusion of the SOF property. The list of work increases even as of today. There's a vast list here. The football fields need to be ready. The soccer and field hockey fields need to be ready by August 14th. 8th grade field hockey, the grass field by September, windscreens by August 27th. Tennis needs to be ready. Football at Churchill, fix the fields at Churchill, ruts at the high school. 8th grade baseball and softball at Churchill. Soccer goals need to be put together. Field hockey goals need to be put together. Turf practice areas at the stadium need to be tended to. Windscreens have to come down for baseball after August 1st. Bleachers have to be moved around on the lower turf. The workload is enormous. With that being said, these 6 gentlemen that are sitting in front of you are extremely dedicated to this district. In fact, 2 of them are East Brunswick residents. If you would take some time to speak with these 6 men, you would quickly learn their strong desire to make this district better. They have ideas and solutions. They have visions, and they're dedicated employees who love the jobs they're performing. After getting to know all 6 of them rather personally over the past few months, I am in awe of their dedication and passion for their jobs. The second major obstacle that they're facing is equipment issues. It's very difficult for these men to do their jobs the way they envision it without the proper equipment. This has been an ongoing issue and recently has been devastating to their ability to perform their jobs effectively. It's difficult for 6 gentlemen to cut grass when one of the 2 large mowers is rather consistently down. Most recently on Monday, the large mower went down again and was scheduled to be picked up for repair yesterday, leaving just 1 large mower for them to use. To make the situation even more dire, the bucket mower, which cuts the infields, also went down this week. Earlier this season, the large mower was sent out for repair, and within a very short period of time, the fan belt and other things went wrong and it needed to go back. It's been a constant obstacle. Over the course of the past 3 years, on 3 occasions, quotes went out for routine maintenance of machines and then were withdrawn. How do you expect machinery to keep up without routine maintenance? If you never serviced your car, do you think it would still function 15 to 20 years later? Simply, these men do not have the proper equipment to do their jobs effectively. They could perform general maintenance themselves on machines more productively if they had the proper equipment, such as power lifts and enclosed blade sharpening machinery. The problem is also present even with the smallest, less costly items, such as weed whacking string. A work order was placed, and it took over 2 months to receive the necessary item in order for them to do their jobs. It was only received after the business administrator withdrew 3 other items from the work order so they could finally receive the weed whacker string. Can you imagine the frustration of these gentlemen? The third issue is communication and management. The groundsmen follow the directives of their direct superior. If they are told to go to a specific location and cut grass, they do so. However, if they are not told about events that are occurring at the high school or Hammersholt or any of the other of the buildings, they can't cut the property. They can only do what they're being told to do. Prioritizing of jobs and events, it's an issue. More effective communication and leadership could help alleviate some of these problems. I hope I'm painting a picture of some of the issues these gentlemen face daily. It's just a snapshot. I'm sure if you have questions or would like further details, the gentleman impacted here today can provide that for you when I'm finished. We want you to know that daily there are walls placed up in front of this department. Each of these men want to excel and they want to make the district better. But each day it becomes harder and harder. All of the obstacles they are facing are making them look badly, and that's their impression. They feel defeated. They feel underappreciated. They feel the lack of support for proper staffing, proper equipment, and better communication and management is setting them up for failure. And quite frankly, I agree with them. In their words, this whole thing is a gut shot. So where are we today? Well, these gentlemen have been told and made aware of solutions to these problems. They've been told that outsourcing privatization will occur as of August 1st from vendors which were solicited by the district to cut the elementary schools in Hammersholt. They were told and saw online that a new non-unit management position is being created, another level of management to solve the problem. What this department really needs is a couple more men to work as a team with this crew. The 6 men in front of you are an amazing, cohesive group of men. And if a few more men were hired who they could train and work with on a Monday to Friday basis, not a Tuesday to Saturday basis, so they all could be together, working together, it would make all the difference in the world. This department needs dependable equipment, which would allow them to do their jobs the way they envision, thereby allowing them to be as productive as possible without the daily frustrations they're facing. An investment in equipment with a rotation schedule, the regular maintenance of equipment during the proper time of the year, and fulfilling the purchase orders would make a huge difference. We do not believe the answer is outsourcing or privatization. We do not believe bringing strangers near our students is the answer. We would like for this Board of Education to make an investment in this department. Invest in what you already have. Caring, dedicated, passionate men who want to make this district more beautiful. I told you earlier, they have ideas. For instance, they would love to compete and win the award from the Sports Field Managers of New Jersey, just as Middlesex County VOTEC right up the street did last year. They have design ideas on how to make the properties more appealing, and they've actually created blueprints. Again, just ask them. They're willing. Now, they're welcoming. They're welcoming your input. They're welcoming to train and partner with new colleagues. They are welcoming new members of their department, this district, and their association. So you're probably sitting here saying, well, we don't have the money, this can't be done. Yeah, it can be. All of it can be obtained. The district, now that the budget has been signed and the government shutdown is over, has been awarded an additional $227,000 of school aid. This money was something that you did not know was coming, nothing you could count on, nothing you can previously spend. So now you have $227,000 to start this process. Hire more district employees, invest in equipment, and invest in this department. Using district money to create a temporary solution to a long-term problem is not wise. Spending $40,000 on strangers cutting grass near our students is not the solution. We're asking for you to make wise choices. Please use the additional aid money, the newfound aid money, and make an investment in your goal of beautifying the district property and appreciating the work of our grounds department. They really deserve it because they work really, really hard. And I really wish that at some point, all of you could take a little bit of time and just sit down and talk to them, because the frustration that they're feeling, they feel underappreciated and they never hear anything positive. They're always just hearing the negative. But if you are struggling so hard with equipment and manpower, they are being set up for failure, and that's how they feel. So I'm asking, they're asking, we're asking, our association is asking for you to put some serious thought before you make any decisions. The money is there to start making an investment and making an investment in this department. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Zembicki.
President
Dr.
Simmons, can I
Gillespie?
make a comment?
Of course.
Gentlemen, I hope you know when I met with you that I was sincere about how much I appreciate what you do. And, even this morning when we talked in the parking lot, when you came to cut grass here and we were looking at the equipment and talking about the equipment, those things we will continue to look at. But the reality is we have a lot of property to cut and we don't have the resources to get it all done right now. And so that's why there is a consideration to look at a private contractor to supplement what you're doing for the time being, at least to get through this season. And that was purely the purpose, and we talked about that. And I reiterated to all of you that any rumors that are going around about privatization of snow removal, you can dismiss those, because I would never recommend to this board that we ever privatize snow removal, because it's such a critical issue. When we have snow and I need to make sure that schools are going to open, I have to depend on all of you to mobilize and get to the schools and get them ready to go so students can get there. I wouldn't want to depend on anybody else to do that. So I do appreciate what you do, and I hope you do believe what I say. And I understand your concerns, but I'm available if you have concerns to talk to me, and I made myself accessible to you, and I will continue to do that so we can talk through this.
From my perspective, and this issue's been around for a bit, and Dr. Zabicki and I have talked about this also, this was not replacing you by any means. None of your jobs are at risk, and I can tell you that sitting up here. This was really to supplement the already active grass cutting process. And as Dr. Zabicki points out, some of the issues are machinery. Right. And I'm going to think that the grass cutting contractors come with their own, which does take a lot of pressure off. When they bring their own machinery, we don't have to worry about maintaining those. But your jobs are secure. This is really just to supplement. And as was told to us, and as Dr. Zabicki also pointed out, when child nutrition was up, one thing I personally would not have was supplementing our people in our schools with private folks. A, because I didn't want to cut their positions, and B, because nobody does the work better than our people do. Same with you. You're here. You're going to stay here. And so when we were talking about this notion of supplementing, that's all that it was, and continues to be, as Dr. Valesky is pointing out now. So I want you to understand that. It's never a question of that. You're incredibly valued here, and
And after our meeting, we are committed to looking at the equipment and what resources you will need. You know, Dr. Zabicki mentioned about, and we talked at our meeting about wanting to get recognition for the athletic fields. And that's where we want your concentration. Your expertise is in that area. We have a lot of expensive synthetic turf fields. A lot of our plain areas need your attention. That's where your concentration should be. The massive grass cutting, the routine grass cutting, we could let somebody else do that, and that could be your concentration. That, at least for right now, that could be an option. So that's what we're thinking, but we will continue to talk about it. Bottom line is, I feel like we have to address the issue. You're frustrated because you can't get the grass cut. I know that I'm frustrated, not with you, I'm frustrated with the fact that we have grass that exceeds a reasonable length. And you guys are chasing, with the equipment that you have, all this extraordinary long grass and having to go from place to place and try to manage that. And I understand why that's frustrating. And the weather, we talked about that, and the impacts. And the impacts, the number of people that are available on any given day. You have 6 people, but if 1 or 2 of you is out, then that creates a problem with the existing crew to actually cut grass. So I know there are a number of dynamics that are affecting this.
Mrs. Shaw?
One of the things that kind of struck me that Dr. Zabicki mentioned is the prioritizing of jobs, and that the groundsmen can only go where they're told to go. And I would have thought that there would have been a plan or a schedule in place for which day of the week, we're going to do this building, and which day of the week we're going to do this building. So if something like that isn't in place, then I think it needs to be. So
that's what should be in place, absolutely.
And that, the groundsmen shouldn't need to wait for somebody to tell them to go to a specific place. They ought to know what's on their, bill to be done that day.
Right.
I'd like to speak.
Please come to the podium, and please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Florence Taleggio. I'm Director of Support Staff. My concern is, but they're still down 2 men. So now they're replacing them with outsourcing them? They're still down 2 men.
I'm not sure that we're down 2
Yeah, I don't
men.
think so.
The positions, Mr. Giuliano, do you recall in the staffing model that we were talking about, the 2 positions that did not come back?
Without having that in front of me,
Okay.
I'm really not going to speak to the details of that without having the data. So this is an opportunity to provide comment. It really should not be an interaction with the board.
Well, it's a question. We'll come back with that.
Yeah.
So I would ask you to do that, since the question was asked. Okay, so we will look at that. Anyone else? Any other comments you wish to address the board? Please come to the podium. Please state your name and address for the record.
Hello, everybody. My name is Patrick Holtz. I've been with the East Brunswick Board of Ed for 3 years now. You guys mentioned that we are here, you want us to focus on the fields, which is great, and we love taking care of our fields for the sports and making them look as best as possible, what we have to work with. And we all do participate in everything, with the fields, to the grass, to the trees, to the mulch, the general aesthetics of the buildings. Being down 6 guys, though, you talk about you're not outsourcing snow plowing. Our maintenance and grounds crew do the snow plowing, correct?
Right.
Since we're cut in manpower, we have 4 buildings that do not have any maintenance or grounds members to plow those buildings. It is very difficult to cover one building if the snowstorm is more than 2 to 3 inches of snow, which, is unpredictable, as much as the weathermans argue with that, but.
Right.
So with that being said, how are we gonna cover those properties without having enough manpower and not outsourcing the snowplow? And that's how we look at it as well, even though you say, yes, it's a temporary fix for the grass cutting, and we get that because it does alleviate pressure and it does make the buildings look great and allows us to focus our efforts on other areas. But after October, we're back to the same position we were now. We still have leaf cleanup, we still have garbage from other events for the schools. There's still grass cutting, because last year we were still cutting grass into late November.
Right.
And we never got to a lot of schools that had leaf foliage. So, again, we're right back to where we are now, same thing. And that's without outsourcing. We have the grass cutting covered, but we still don't have enough manpower, and we're still not meeting the expectations that you guys would like us to meet. So how do you, if there's any ideas to help prevent that? That's why we are looking for more men, simple, and we don't want to get stuck behind the 8 ball again, and then all of a sudden, now we look even worse than we did before. And thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to address the board? All right, seeing no one, I will close the public portion and move on to our agenda. May I have a motion for this evening's agenda?
So moved.
Motion by
Second.
Mrs. Shaw, second by Mrs. Becker. Is there any discussion?
Yes.
Mrs. Shaw.
Okay, I had questions in our personnel agenda. I am looking at page 5, and it says that under home instruction, it's recommended that the board approve all district certificated staff and teacher certified substitute staff to provide home instruction as assigned
Right.
for the 2017-18 school year. I don't believe that we've ever approved the entire certificated staff to be available for home instruction.
I thought we had Mrs. Shaw in the past.
Really?
Yeah. I can double check, but I
Really?
thought we had.
And the same thing for
every-
clerical staff as well?
Everyone was given the opportunity to do that,
thought so,
that kind of work.
And if someone said, I don't want to do
They don't
home
have to.
instruction,
They don't have
so the fact that they are assigned to do it is
to. It's just-
immaterial, they can just say,
It's
no,
an
thank you.
approval. We are looking for people to do it.
And I'd much rather have our people doing home
Yeah,
instruction.
yeah, it gives us the
anyway.
opportunity to ask people to be.
I just thought the volunteer part of it was kind of critical for people.
think
And so to
this-
say, everybody is in the pool now to be assigned, I
Yeah,
just
but
thought
they
it
can
sounded
decline.
unusual.
Right, right.
And there's
Okay,
no,
but
there's
it
no
doesn't
stigma if they
indicate here that
decline.
they can decline,
Yeah, there's no
that's all.
stigma if they decline. I think they just,
Okay.
It just gives us the entire pool to operate from and offer it to anybody.
could have been worded better, is what you're saying.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
There you go.
Well.
And
well
my
noted.
memory could be a little
Well
better,
noted.
too, I suppose.
We will check, I'll tell you what, we'll check the approval for last year, but maybe we need to
Hey.
adjust the language, and maybe we can do that going forward.
I trust you guys.
All right. Any other discussion? Will the secretary please call the roll?
Mrs. Becker,
I'm here. Yes.
Mr. Cancro,
Yes.
Mrs. Chu,
Yes.
Mr. Hong,
Yes.
Mrs. Lax.
Yes.
Mrs. Reese.
Yes.
Mr. Seeler,
Yes.
Mrs. Shaw,
Yes.
President Simmons.
Yes, motion carries. There's no old business. Any committee information items are good to the cause for the board. Okay, seeing none, we'll move on. May I have a motion for the closed session items, including the employee numbers listed in the agenda?
So moved.
Motion by Mrs. Becker, second by Mrs. Shaw. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Good night.